Okay, I have brought on somebody that is fascinating to the show. I've been following him on social media. I'm just going to bring him on right now. This is, well, you know what? It's a little complicated because people go by their Instagram names. Welcome, Ronen. Thank you for agreeing to meet with me. Some people might know him as Fuck Your Vax, but that account got suspended. So now you're introducing yourself to the world as Jewish Warrior NYC1.
Thank you.
Welcome,
Thank you for having me. Thank you for having me and my little puppy right here, my little doggy, Roxy.
Roxy and Ronen. Okay, so I want to just kind of tell the world here, kind of explain. I've been following you on social media. You're a little bit aggressive. You can be kind of in your face to some people. What really got me to reach out to you, though, was this one particular interaction that you had with a pro Palestine supporter that had his face covered. And you started speaking Hebrew with him because he's Israeli. And you were actually having like a real conversation with him. You weren't just attacking each other. So
Correct.
I have to start with that. So, what are you finding when you're going out? And then specifically, can you talk to me about this interaction?
Yeah, he was a young kid. He was 21 years old. He had his kafia on. I don't know, for some reason I stand out in the crowd, and he pointed at me because I was eating one of the watermelons, and he asked me if he wanted, if he asked, I don't know what he said, but he looked like he was coming around, and I told my friends, just be aware that this guy's coming on our side, and he actually just wanted to have a piece of watermelon, which we didn't have anymore, and I was trying to get him a piece of watermelon. But then he started speaking, and he spoke Hebrew. So obviously, I'm fluent in Hebrew. I was born in Israel, and I learned Hebrew here with my friends, with the people that I hung out with. So we had a conversation, and he wanted to, he said he wanted to have a conversation with us, man to man. And I was, trying to explain to him, you can't have a conversation man to man if you have your face covered, because that's obviously, not a man talk. So we kind of spoke, and as you saw in the video, I tried to, explaining to him, that we're not looking for fights. I mean, being that I might be a little bit aggressive in the protest, because you never know who's behind you, who's in front of you, who's going to attack you or whatnot. So I got to keep a stronghold, obviously, but I do have a soft side, and we had a good chat. And after we spoke, and he didn't want to be doxxed, which I understand because I've been doxxed before, and to me, it makes no difference. I'm self-employed, so I don't mind people knowing my name. But I told him, if you want to talk, he said, sure. He goes, let's go around the corner. And, he took off his kafia, and we actually had a good conversation. He sounded like he's a really nice Israeli kid. He comes from an Israeli background. He's either, been confused or indoctrinated by his schools or by the kids, by the surroundings, his friends. I touched him, I told him, I said, why don't you talk to your mom and your dad? They're supposedly Israeli. He said, yeah. And I said, why don't you speak to your grandmother? You might be killing them. You might be hurting them. You might be giving them a heart attack from what are you doing? And he was pretty good. He actually gave a homeless guy $20 as a tip, while what I gave the homeless guy also some money. And I told him, you see, you have a Yiddish heart. You have a Jewish heart. And I was like, you have Jewish blood in you. He's like, well, I don't believe that. I said, yeah, you might not believe it, but you do.
Unfortunately, this video is no longer available because Instagram locked your account. And so now you had to move over to Jewish Warrior NYC1. But it was a really beautiful exchange. And I have to say that, I see you, you're very brave. You go into a lot of these protests wearing your Jewish flag or Jewish and American flag, and you talk to people. So, what have you found in general?
I found in general that most people don't want to talk, and even if you give them facts, they don't. They don't care about the facts. They don't care about what's going on. All they care about is to be anti-Semitic, scream baby killer, genocide, and all that other good stuff that they will figure they learn in school or whatnot. They don't want to learn. They just feel like they're just stuck on one topic and that's it, and they don't want to learn anything else.
How many of the people that you interact with are really interested in coexistence, do you think, or collaboration or peace?
Not many. I don't even think they're. I don't even think they know what they're doing. Half of them. I think. Yeah, I would say at least 80% of the kids. They're pretty much just doing it just to be the cool kid in school. Oh look, we can hate the Jews. We could put on a kafia. We can walk around and scream and rhyme. None of them have their own wording. They have to always say the same thing that their leader or whoever it is that's supporting and funding their cause. They're not like us Jewish people. We don't have anybody funding us. We're doing this all because of our hearts, because we want to stand with our people, because we want to stand with Israel. We want to stand with our hostages. and we really want to have peace. We're not looking to fight with them because, if we were, then we would just go and start fighting with everybody. But if you look at the videos, we actually, I can't speak for everybody. Let me just speak for myself. I don't want to fight with them. I don't want to have an argument with them. I'd rather have a good conversation, but they seem like they just want to hurt us and kill us. And, they just have no knowledge of what really goes on in Israel.
I got to tell you, one common theme that I've seen with your videos and with some other people that go out and try to talk to people in the crowds is humor. I saw the video of you making your own rhymes, silly rhymes, as you were in the
Correct.
crowds, and you use humor. I mean, it's. I feel like in the hardest of times, this is why there's like a thing called Jewish humor. You use humor to try and get through to people. That and being aggressive sometimes.
Well, yeah. Well, again, the being aggressive is because they're being aggressive with us. So we really have to stand our ground. As far as humor, yeah, humor is great. The laughter is the best medicine. If we could make people laugh, we could make people smile, then I do it. I mean, on my personal time, I usually take my parrot. I have a 21-year-old parrot. She's harness trained. I bring her to the boardwalk. I let kids hold her. I let people hold her. We have conversations. And that's what I really like doing. I like to have a conversation. I like people smiling. I like people just interacting with each other. I encourage it. I would love for people, to come up to me and talk to me like a human being. And we could agree to disagree, but they just, these people at the protest, they're not looking for anything but confrontation, if they even want that.
What have you seen? I saw videos coming out of New York, also in front of the Nova Festival exhibit and also on the subway of really some scary, aggressive protests. Were you around for that?
I actually went down in the subway when the SRG, which is a unit in the police, I saw them rush down there. So we went down to go take videos. Again, I think these kids they're just doing it to be able to do it. Also, they don't seem to respect our policemen. They don't seem to respect any law enforcement. They don't want law and order. They want chaos, havoc, and anarchy. And I believe our mayor and our governor are allowing this to happen. If you look what happened in the Nova Festival, which was horrendous, it was something that these kids are going to protest against, where the hostages are being exhibited or where people were being killed and slaughtered and murdered and raped. And these kids think that it's just like the in thing to do. It also has to deal with a couple of the people that fund them, which is, within our lifetime, Nadir Kawanzi. This girl should be already processed by the FBI for, terror organizations and acts of violence and inciting violence. And police officers are overworked. They're underpaid. They're getting abused by these kids. They're scared to do. I believe that the police officers, they're scared to do things because, first of all, the kids are getting out the next day, regardless whether it's assaulting an officer, assault three, or whatever charges they get. And the officers are getting sued. The NYPD is getting sued. If they touch them, if they do anything aggressive, if they have to put them in cuffs. These kids they're professional crybabies. They know exactly what to do, what to say. If the police officer touches them, they start to yell and scream, "Ow, you're hurting me." A lot of it is an act. Maybe they just haven't been accepted into their society. So now they found something to keep their lives going.
New York is obviously the city with the most amount of Jews in America. What is it like for Jews in New York, would you say, for someone that lives there, you know, what is it like to be out and about? Is it getting worse?
I personally, traveling in the trains, as far as people recognizing me from my Instagram, I haven't really encountered many. I had one guy, he saw my Israeli flag. I had one Israeli flag on my shoulder strap, and he purposely showed me his Palestine book, and gave him a thumbs up. He gave me a thumbs up, and we had a good conversation also. But again, the conversation was like one sided. You baby killers, your genocide supporters, you so on and so forth. They don't understand that Israel is using precise targeting, and that Hamas uses the Palestinians just like they're using the LGBT community here. They're using them as pawns. They're not using them for anything significant. They're using them just to get the numbers up. And I don't really think that they understand what
It's
Hamas
okay.
uses their
Oh,
people as shields, is their infrastructure, their schools, their hospitals to build tunnel systems and weapon storages, just like we found those four hostages inside Palestinian homes and a journalist. These people are just as guilty as the Hamas people. So the same thing in New York. These people are just as guilty. They're not looking for facts. They're just looking to hate. That's what I see.
And what is it like on the streets of New York? Are you seeing when there are these rallies, are they just attacking or surrounding random Jewish people? Because I'm not there at those particular rallies, but they look really aggressive.
They can be aggressive. You see a few. What happens is that they gotta wait for their mob to get together, and then once the mob gets together, there's a couple of people that are agitators. They're the ones who start the chaos, and then some of the people there are, they're pretty aggressive. Most of the people, I would say, they are not aggressive. But I would say if you have, 500 of them, you're going to get about 10 to 15 of them that are aggressive that actually start to rile up the protesters.
So where do we go from here? Where do you see this ending? Would you see that this is going to continue as long as the war continues?
I actually believe it's going to go beyond the war. I don't think that this is going to end right away unless our governor and our mayors decide to deploy the National Guards and give the NYPD a little bit more security and actually give the NYPD a little bit more permission to do what they have to do in order to restore law and order. I think it's actually going to get worse as the elections come along and the more lies that come out of, we call it Gaza Wood. People are just believing and being struck by emotions. They're not trying to use their common sense. Where are all the people from October 7th who were screaming Allah Akbar? Where are all these people? All of a sudden they've disappeared. People are easily upset when they see, horrible news. Oh my God, look what's going on. Oh my God. People don't like good news. People like bad news. So the more they keep coming out with these, I call them fake videos, and don't get me wrong, I do believe that there are going to be casualties of war on both sides, and we don't want that. But if most of these videos that are coming out from Gaza, there are a lot of fakes going on there.
What prompted you to start recording yourself in these rallies?
I was always an activist. I was an activist for some time now. That's hence the reason why my suspended account, Suck Your Vax, was against the mandate. And I always keep my video on, both for my safety and the people's safety that are around us, to videotape myself, to videotape others. Also to show the people what's going on in New York. There's a lot of sides that the other side, they like to edit the video. Like I have one guy, he stalked me for about 3 months. And what he would do is he would hide behind a female and spit at us and do whatever. And if we tried to retaliate, the girl was always in front of us, so he would use that as a prop. If he would swing at me, I would try to protect myself, and he would say, "Oh, look, Ronan is hitting this girl." They would bait and switch how you would see the video. They would edit it just so it's just precise on, "Oh, look what he did."
My husband likes to tell me when you fight with crazy people, you can't tell who the crazy one is. So why do you go in there?
Well, I grew up in Brooklyn, New York. I'm 50 through it. I grew up with the mob. I grew up with gangs. I grew up with everything. So this stuff doesn't faze me. We're all human. Maybe I get excited a little bit. I'm not going to say no. I'm sure that there's a little bit of excitement in there. But I was just taught not to back down, not to show fear. You should show no fear. That's basically it.
But as I'm seeing you talking to some of these kids, are we seeing like a kinder, gentler Ronan? And also, you ask people about your name. You ask people if you should change "fuck your vax" to uh, another name, and it looks like Instagram made the decision for you.
It seems like the name is pretty popular. I can walk down the street and people go, "Look, there goes Fuck Your Vax." And, even in the Israeli Day Parade, everybody had no problem saying my name. I'm still going to try to get my account back because that account is pretty solid. It has a lot of views. A lot of people look for it. A lot of people enjoy it. They like to see the content that comes out of there. I'm building up the Jewish Warrior NYC right now. I mean, I've contacted a couple of our community boards that are on Instagram that have a lot of followers. So it's getting built, but I like the name. A lot of people say, change it, and then there's a lot of people say don't say not to change it. But I think it's a label, like Ralph Lauren and Armani. Fuck Your Vax is a label. People know me. People know that name. It doesn't matter. I don't think people even care about the name anymore.
I guess people will have to start screaming Jewish Warrior NYC1 at you.
They already did. If you actually look at my account, there's one. There's one guy. I think they both. I think they all know my accounts. I think they have all these type of WhatsApp groups and Facebook groups and Instagram groups that they share this information so it gets out there really fast.
What's your approach nowadays?
If people would like to talk, I don't have a problem. We could talk. We could have a conversation. If people want to get aggressive, then we could be aggressive. I'd rather talk, like you saw. And that video, by the way, is up on the Jewish Warrior NYC1. I put it up
Oh, it
there as
is.
well. Yeah, it is. It's up there. I'd rather have conversations. I'd rather be able to get their views on why they think this way. If they could have a conversation and not just give me the same thing as your baby killers, your genociders, your stuff like this. Hamas even retracted their numbers that it wasn't 35,000 or 40,000. They retracted it to half, which means I would probably say that it's half of that also because we know Hamas humanitarian people are not that trustworthy. But if they would like to have a conversation, I would sit down with anybody and have a conversation. Let them read the verses. I've even had some Muslim kids. I gave them verses to read off the Quran, and they were just like stumbling with their words because I was like, you see, the Quran does tell you to kill people that go against Allah and so on and so forth.
It's difficult sometimes for people living in Western society to understand a different mindset.
I think this is being in school. The teachers are teaching them how to hate the kids, how to hate the Israelis, how to hate the Jews, how the Palestinians are the victims and people in Gaza are the victims. I don't think that they're teaching the kids exactly how to be successful in this world. To be honest with you.
What do you want people to understand about Israel?
Israel is, I want them to understand that Israel is a peace loving community. We do have a diverse people that are there. We have all types of religion, all types of sexualities, with people like transvestites and homosexuals and gays and lesbians and the LGBT community. We have Muslims living with us, Ethiopians, Africans, Christians, Hindus. I mean, it's one of the most diverse cities the only diverse city in the Middle East. Uh, we have Arab people in our council. We have Arab people in the IDF, Arab people in the parliament, Arab people teaching, doctors, so on and so forth. We're not what the news is telling you. We're not killing everybody in Gaza. We're not killing uh, all these babies that they're telling us. We're a peaceful, loving country. If you gave it a chance, and if they came there and looked at it, they would see that they've been lied to.
Do you see that the majority of people that are out there chanting have never visited Israel?
I almost guarantee you they've never been to Israel nor any part of the Middle East. These kids here, definitely 100%, they have never been into Israel, never been into a Muslim country, never been into the Middle East. It's very hard to switch them. It's just like when you're a young kid and you start taking karate, and by the time you're 25, you're a black belt and you're unstoppable. It's the same thing as these kids here. Once they go to school, they learn about racism, hate Israel, Palestine, the supposed genocide. It's very hard to switch their minds. And when you talk to them and try to give them all the facts, I don't think it actually clicks in their mind. I think it actually fights with what they're trying to think about, and they don't wanna be wrong. They want to say yes, this is right, and this is what I believe, and they don't want to believe in anything else.
Yeah. All right. So where can people find you? You're on Instagram, Jewish Warrior NYC1. Are you going to get fuck your vax back? With a PH,
I'm
everybody.
I am trying to. It's PHUCKYOURVAX1. If not, you can find me on Twitter, which fuck your vax without the one. PHUCKYOURVAX is on Twitter X. But right now, I'm trying to build my Jewish Warrior NYC on Instagram, so they can find me on there. And everybody's more than welcome to talk to me if you even want to text me or PM me on the site. You're more than welcome. I'm a reasonable person. Just because you see me aggressive on the videos, it's only because I'm they're being aggressive towards us. But I have a good heart. I have a soft heart. I'd rather have a conversation with people than fight. We could always have a conversation. Conversation is where peace starts. It's exactly where we start understanding each other.
It's a pleasure to chat with you. So thank you so much for answering my DM and agreeing to this call. It's been a pleasure.
You too. Nice meeting you. Thank you, everybody. I appreciate you having me on your show.